Welcome to Dan's Talks. My guest today is Faith Popcorn, known as a futurist, who has beguiled many people and is very well connected to people who believe in her. She's had 3 best-selling books about what she does, and I'm going to ask you to describe a little bit about what you do, because I know it's about what happens next, but I think well, what did you tell me?
So what we do, our company is called Faith Popcorn's BrainReserve, and it started in 1974. And what we do is consult mainly with Fortune 200, helping the CEO understand what his mainly or hers immediate future is going to look like and how they can leverage that by virtue of whatever they make, if they're a Coca-Cola or if they're American Express, or what does it mean to them? We call that applied futurism. So it's not a crystal ball. We get a lot of crystal ball jokes, and it's not martinis, although we have nothing against martinis. But it's rather between a science and an art.
How did you first feel that you were fit to do this?
Good
Oh,
question. So,
what was your career?
before this,
Yes.
well, it was very short, but I used to be a copywriter at ad agencies. And I realized that these agencies were not addressing what's going to happen to the client tomorrow or the next day. They were basically in the business of selling a commercial or an ad, right? And I was always concerned about the client saying, like, is this going to work if around the corner it looks like this or it looks like that? And my around the cornerness or talent, I think, came from the amount of people, one, I talk to, but people can only tell you about the present and the past. Although I do think everybody has the capability to look at the future. They're just afraid. They have kind of a third eye or an instinct about what's going to happen, but they'd rather not.
Yeah.
So, I got to be very good at saying, aging population is coming, or I had a tremendous, we call it talent bank now, and it has 10,000 futurists in it. So I have a lot of input. So we have geriatric futurists and we have ecological futurists and we have, I mean, every kind you could imagine. So with that kind of input, we kind of take bets on, are they really going to deliver the future? Is there really going to be able to be like skin scrapings between 2 people to create an embryo? That's actually what applied futurism means. What's our bet? And our bet's been pretty 95% accurate. The way we evaluate what's coming in, what we see, how we put together dots. Yeah. So
Tell me about the first book you did and what the reception was.
sure. So the first book I did was in 1990. I wrote a book, much against my will, because very, very hard and lonely to write a book. I wrote it with my bestie. Her name is Liz Marigold. She's also on the East End, and it was called The Popcorn Report. And it outlined what we saw for the next 10 years. And people read it, I had a few clients then, and they go like, no, I don't know. What do you mean cocooning? People are going to stay home. What do you mean home delivery? People are going to get food at their front door, what do you mean women's wealth is going to accelerate, all this. But as time went on and each of these things dropped and happened, I think I got more credibility and more CEOs would call and go like, can you come in and tell us, what you think about what we make, and should we be making something different, or should we be making it a different way, or should we be buying a different kind of company? So that's how it actualized.
Was it a big hit?
It was a big hit. People still think that I have a report. I don't really have a report, although we have like you know, pop-ups almost, of what like our last one was called paranoia. like, the extreme paranoia that's going on, or, women's wealth, or, various like trend truths that we're seeing in the culture. And I do a lot of speaking about those. We do a lot of consultation with companies about those, but I am actually, in timely, I always see you at benefits. You always look so cool. I don't want to talk to you. You're too cool. I mean, you just look too cool. But, you know, I am going to embark on Popcorn Report next. And I'm talking to I usually like a collaborator. Liz Marigold doesn't want to do it. So talking to a few people about whether they would, I like to work with somebody because they just get I find every way, I don't know if you do this too, to defer working on my book. So I need somebody to show up and work with me.
That's good. And then you had two more bestsellers.
Yeah, I had Evolution, which were the 8 truths of marketing to women, because people didn't understand that women spoke a different language, smelled differently, saw differently, reacted differently, and they were a big part of the market, and that there was no mass marketing actually existing. So Evolution took us to one-on-one marketing, etc. Another book was a Dictionary of the Future, which defined future terms. I actually had a fourth book right after the Popcorn Report called Clicking, which was a continuation of the Popcorn Report. So I've written 4, but I haven't written any in a while, because of the extreme difficulty of writing. I'm glad I wrote these because at least it benchmarked what we were seeing. So I'm going to do it again.
Well, since I'm not a corporate type and
Mhm.
paying you for your commentary, what the hell is happening now?
Oh, good question.
So,
Um, I don't know if you've ever heard of this theory. It's a little bit abstract, called the chaos effect, chaos theory. And that's people that don't believe in spirituality or don't believe in actual science having a logical progression, believe in chaos. Then things drop down. And I think we're living right in the chaos theory, which is one day something's true and the next day it's not true anymore. And I think people are vastly uncomfortable. People love predictability. In a way, they should love futurism a lot more because it predicts, but sometimes they don't like what it's predicting. So maybe that, but we are living in the middle of a uh, chaotic, uh, like one of my favorite books was called Being There. Remember that book? Where
yes,
Chauncey Gardner, right? He's a gardener, right? And he gets hit by a Rolls Royce or something, and the guy takes him in and he's like a little bit dizzy from being hit in the head. And this guy takes him in, thinks he's a god, and he keeps saying, sun is shining. And they go, sun is shining. Yes. That means it's kind of like a little bit like that, like being there, except that we're being here and it is affecting people's lives, maybe not in a positive way. But I think this too shall pass.
that's a good thought.
Yeah.
So I'd asked you before we began about the time you spend out in the Hamptons, and I want
Yeah.
to at this point, um, what do you like to do when you come out? And are you out for a long period of time when you come?
Well, I have a company in New York, BrainReserve is in New York. So usually I just spend like maybe a long weekend. Um I've been spending more time because my place in New York, I mentioned, got flooded. Our offices got flooded. But what I like to do there is nothing. I mean, I love nothing, and I do so little of it. To me, it's like I'm, on a pond. I sit on my dock sometimes and worry about the water. egrets, swans. And then, I like just walk around aimlessly. I have 3 dogs, so I play with my dogs. My daughter, Georgica, when I have 2 Chinese adopted daughters. So Georgica, when she first came, when she was teeny weeny, when I adopted her, I said, "Look, Georgica, a whole pond named after you." And for quite a while, she thought Georgica Pond was named after her, when actually the reverse. She works for a wonderful vet out there called Dr. Turetsky, the best vet, and she's studying to go to vet school. So that keeps me out there. And my besties are out there, and I've been going out there since I'm probably 5, originally in Montauk.
So did your parents have a house out here?
No, they weren't that weren't gifted with that much foresight. We come from the East Village, but my mother loved to fish on party boats in Montauk. So we used to go out and fish on party boats and stay in motels. And that's how I got introduced. We also used to go to being New Yorkers, 6 generations of East Villagers. We used to go to Coney Island, and then there was like a upscale place at the end of Coney Island. Not too many people, I think, know about it anymore, called Seagate. And we used to spend holidays there. It was kind of the first maybe gated community in Brooklyn. And so I learned to love the ocean and the beach. It's so beautiful. Even though I don't love sand, you can love the beach without loving sand, I think.
Of course. There's been a lot of changes that have come to our community since back in those days. And
Nothing good, right?
some of it good, some of
What's
it,
good?
well, a great deal of land has been saved.
That's true.
That's all been done on, I was going to say on the up and up, which is ridiculous to say that because it was done by law from the county and state. And it's kept many of the vistas open, but mostly it's become much like a world-class resort for the wealthy.
Yeah,
So back then we were sort of banging the pot trying to compete with Cape Cod and the Jersey Shore.
right.
It's quite a switch.
You know, Mr. Lauder just sold some land in Wainscott that's preserved the view, Wainscott Pond. I'm working with a little bit with the Friends of Georgia Pond to see if we can't clean up Georgia Pond. I can't talk about it yet, but I will. I'll let you know, first of all, a technique for actually cleaning up Georgia Pond, because it's so precious and so gorgeous, and it's in trouble. Georgia Pond is in trouble.
Yes, as are a lot of them. Um, I'll watch what's happening in Lake Agawam because that's in trouble too. But they've got some machinery that's expensive that's on the shoreline that is cleaning the water all the
Yeah.
time, and that's going to become available. It is now. It's a Miami-based operation.
You mean it's picking up the
Uh,
the
the
algae?
the algae and the what potassium or whatever it is. Forget what the
You really can't clean a water unless you clean the base.
well, eventually you will if you keep flushing it around. But that's
Well,
not to this. Where were you? What were you always interested in that? By the way, I worked at Foot Cone Building in the '60s. No,
what
the
fun.
name building.
Did you have the 3 martini lunch?
No, I was a modest trainee copywriter.
Oh, you too.
It's,
Well, we had the 3 martini lunch, and we used to work all day and all night. I mean, in those days.
a company were you working at?
Well, I was working at, let's see, Smith Greenland, small agencies, basically, but we used to meet in a bar called the Copenhagen. It was a Danish Danish restaurant at the bottom of 1414 6th Avenue where Tinker was. That's where Mary Wells started. And we used to just like, all get together and just brainstorm ideas and just drink a lot of, I think I was drinking scotch at the time, and just hang out for hours. And some of the best thinking I think came out of that bar. Should have a plaque on it.
Mhm. Um, I read that your parents were attorneys.
That's right. My mother was a negligence lawyer, ambulance chaser, and my father was a criminal lawyer, probably a member of the CIA. I was raised in Shanghai till I was around 7 because my father was head of something called the CID, Criminal Investigation Division of the US Army in Shanghai. And and also a criminal lawyer. And then when we got back, I mean, people didn't announce that they were in the CIA. He was just a criminal lawyer here.
Did you ever, going to college, did you ever want to be something other than what you are now?
Well, I was going to go to law school. Um, I went to NYU and I was admitted to NYU Law School, but I didn't go for this reason. My father was mysteriously found dead on a highway. I can put it that way. I think murdered, when I was about 17. And I wanted to practice with him, like be a jailhouse lawyer. That's kind of what he was. And that kind of side railed my ambitions for the law. And so I took a course at visual arts with Frankie Cadwell, who's a writer at the time. And she said, would you like a job in an advertising agency? Now, my mother and father never let me work. It was this thing, I don't know what it was stupid. But I said, oh, I'd love a job. And I was copy chief right off the bat at the small agency called Salet and Garlanda and didn't go to law school. And that's how I got diverted into this futurism business.
Well, I think you are an interesting person who thinks in unusual ways.
Thank you. You too.
I guess I want to thank you for being on the podcast and talking
My
about.
pleasure. And wishing you the best future, Dan.
Yes, thank you. I
Okay.
appreciate it. You
Thank
too.
you.